The first weekend of Premier League football is in the books, officially. Here's everything we learned from match day 1. The first thing we learned is that Manchester City have assembled the Avengers of technical footballers. Oh my goodness. I mean, 2017-18 was, maybe even 2018-19 in fact as well too, but that was, for my opinion, for my money, the best assortment of small, intricate technical footballers that the Premier League has ever seen at one club for one season. I mean, you had David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, Ilkay Gundogan, Fernandinho, and then you had, of course, Aguero, Sterling, Sane, Jesus. Honestly, they could pass you a million passes off the park. They were so good in possession and so good going forward. And I think over the last few years, City have kind of shifted away from that way of thinking, and they become bigger, they become stronger, they become more athletic, more rigid as the game has kind of demanded that. Pep has adapted. But I look at the window that they've had and the squad that they've assembled, and I just have to say, oh my goodness, this team is outrageous from an attacking point of view. I mean, this weekend, they started Oscar Bob up out wide. They started Doku on the other wing. They started in a midfield of Reijnders, Nico Gonzalez, and Bernardo Silva. And then off the bench, they were bringing on Ryan Cherki, one of the most talented technical footballers in the world. Phil Foden didn't even come onto the pitch. They still have Savinho, who looks like he's going to be staying at the club. Rodri, the best midfielder maybe in the world. I mean, the assortment of technical footballers that Pep Guardiola has put together is just flat out ridiculous, man. And then on top of all of it, you got Erling Haaland, who isn't the most technically gifted footballer, but he doesn't have to be, because of all those guys supplying the bullets, he is the ultimate assassin. The ultimate gun for hire. And you put a ball in the box, that guy's going to be there. But I think the technical footballers that we saw on display for Man City is really reminiscent of that first great Pep side that we saw in Manchester all those years back. And this weekend, the jewel in the crown of it was Tijjani Reijnders. For my money, already the best bargain signing in the Premier League. And some people might say that's reactionary. I don't think it is. This was a guy that was the best midfielder in Serie A last year, voted by his peers. He was incredible for a struggling Milan team. I thought he was really good a few years back at the Euros for the Dutch. And you just look at him. And I would have said this before, but I'm still going to say it now. Is this guy just the most Pep-coded midfielder ever that didn't play for Pep previously? Look at him. He's amazing on the ball. He's amazing at carrying it forward. He's amazing at finishing chances. He's very good in tight areas. Good dribbler. Good eye for the final pass as well too. Very adept in the first phase, second phase, and third phase. I mean, it sounds like I'm describing Ilkay Gundogan, except he's younger, faster, and stronger. This is a Pep midfielder. So how did the Premier League let Pep get his hands on him for 46 million pounds? I can't understand it. I can't understand it. But that's the first thing I learned. That Man City have put together the Avengers of technical footballers. And from an attacking point of view, I think they might be the most entertaining team in the league to watch this season. My hot take. The second thing we learned this weekend is that I think we are going to finally get a good relegation battle for the first time in what, 2-3 seasons now. I mean, the last 2-3 seasons in the Premier League has literally just been Newton's law of gravity, man. What comes up must come straight back down. 2 years ago, who was it that went down? Was it Luton? It was Burnley, and it was who was the last team? Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United. They went down, and up in their place came Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester. Well, big surprise. A year later, all three of those guys came sinking straight back down. And I'm sorry, at no point was it even really that close. I mean, last season, right? Leicester finished 18th. How many points did they finish on? 25 points. Spurs were in the Champions League, fair enough. But they finished 17th, 13 points ahead of them. Man United couldn't put back-to-back wins last season together, and they finished comfortably above them. So forget about not even being a relegation battle. Like, no team is even competing with these guys. But I think this season, guys, the curse might break. I think that it might be over. Because I know it's one game, but already it feels like these sides are a little more competitive than the ones that they're kind of coming after. This year, the three sides that have come up: Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds. Ladies and gentlemen, I can confidently say, or I can confidently confirm, two of those sides have already won a game. Sunderland taking care of business at West Ham in their first game in the Premier League back for 8 years. And then Leeds taking care of business against everybody's side that they predicted were going to do well this season, Everton. That's encouraging. I don't want to see the same three teams go up and down, because it just kind of, for me, paints the picture that the championship might be in a real place of bother if they can't send teams to compete in the Premier League. And I think you look around the league as well too. Wolves getting destroyed by City. I know it's City, but to lose Ait Nouri and Cunha, those are two big losses that I think will send them in that rat race for relegation. I'm not saying they're going to go down, but they're going to definitely be in contention to go down. Brentford have lost their coach, they've lost their top scorer, they've lost their captain, and just to boot, they might lose their second top scorer. They don't look great either. They lost 3-0 to Forest on opening day. It's looking rough for them. West Ham, I mean, a side that a few years ago won a trophy in Europe, since then have just been sinking like a stone. And their 3-0 loss to Sunderland. I know Sunderland were amazing. I know Sunderland have done great business. But West Ham, lack of identity under Graham Potter. How long is he going to last? For me, he would be my favorite to get relegated first. Him and Daniel Farke if Leeds kind of do as poorly as we think they do. But that's 6 teams right there that I think we can look at and say, they might be in contention to really fight for the drop. And I'm sorry, I love to see it because I don't want to see the same 3 teams going up and down. So that's the second thing we learned. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as the last 2 seasons. I really think there are some contenders that have lost big players this season that will be much closer to the drop than they probably would have thought beforehand. The third thing we've learned this weekend is that Manchester United have bought well, but they haven't bought enough. There is still work to be done in this transfer window for them. And a lot of people might be saying, Lyes, seriously? You've spent what, 60 million on Cunha, 70 on Mbeumo or something like that, or Mbeumo, excuse me. Sesko is another like 60, 70 on top. How can you say you haven't spent enough? Look, guys, we finished 15th. We are literally on the floor. The only way is up, but there's a long way to go up. And 3 players have been a huge addition. I mean, look at the Arsenal game, right? Mbeumo and Cunha were really, really positive. I think Mbeumo, he still needs to build up some match fitness. I don't think he was completely at his best. I think a few times I thought he was a little heavy-footed. Maybe took a split second too long to make a decision, which I think when he's fully at it, we'll be making those more consistently. But you saw signs from Mbeumo, right? Honestly, his technical consistency was elite. His first touch, running at players, confidence. He looks like every bit of the part that United are getting. But Cunha, oh my goodness, that cameo against Arsenal. I keep saying cameo. That performance against Arsenal was flat out ridiculous. I mean, the ball carrying on display, that was a session. That was a treat to watch. I was at one point standing on my feet applauding. He looked outrageous, man. And the pick of the lot, I mean, there were 2. One of them was when he received it on the halfway line and then runs past like 3 or 4 players. And then the other one was the in-air Cruyff turn past Ben White. Oh, I'm thinking, is this Matheus Cunha or is this Ricardo Kaká? Seriously, what have Man United bought here? Those 2 look really, really positive and clearly have upgraded Man United. Benjamin Sesko, he played a little less of a part, played the last 20, 30 minutes. I thought he struggled to get into the game. But also, let's be real, he's played a handful of training sessions with this team. I think the best is yet to come from him. However, 2 things are very, very clear. This team needs a goalkeeper. This team needs another midfielder. Now, we have 4 midfielders on the books. All 4 of them, I think, have question marks around them. Casemiro, Bruno, Kobe, Ugarte. I'm not sold on any of them as deeper midfielders, and I'm certainly not sold on them as a pair. They wanted Carlos Baleba. It looks like they've been priced out of that. I'm hearing rumors with other players around Europe. I'm not sure who it's going to be. But one thing is very, very clear to me. They need a physical presence in there, and they need someone who's adept at getting on the ball and just keeping things ticking. I think every combo of midfielder they have at the moment is a little suspect. And anyone that includes Manuel Ugarte is especially suspect. But they need another midfielder. Minimum 1. But is it more important than a goalkeeper? That's the real question here. And it might be something that a lot of us have almost undersold here. This goalkeeper situation is a problem. Because for as much as we cuss out Onana, it's not like his replacement is any better. Bayender, again, was at the scene of the crime, really conceding Arsenal's only opportunity bar a last-minute chance for Madueke throughout 90 minutes. Man United were very good this game. They were very promising. They created chances. They kept Arsenal at bay. But ultimately, the game was decided on one goalkeeping blunder. And I fear that's been the case too many times over the last 2 seasons. United haven't been great, but I can remember a few occasions where we actually do play okay, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the guy in net is not literally, but figuratively picking up the ball and throwing it in his own net. I mean, what can you do in that kind of situation, bro? What can you do in that kind of situation? It's something that needs to be addressed. It's as simple as that. Now, who's the goalkeeper on the market that United can bring? That remains to be seen. Donnarumma was a name being floated about. I got to be honest with you guys, right? Donnarumma's salary, it scares me. I think United are trying to kind of shift away from handing out those massive, massive contracts. And for a goalkeeper on top of that, I'm good. But there needs to be somebody that comes in because they've done good business and the team has improved. I think a big thing that we saw from United was the physical level of the side is much higher. They could actually compete with Arsenal from a physical point of view. And that hasn't been something I could say for a long time now. But now they got to add more players in. Goalkeeper, midfielder, those are 2 priorities for me. The fourth thing we learned this weekend is that Crystal Palace have a damn good squad, guys. Honestly, Crystal Palace have a very good team. And it's actually a shame for me that Guehi and Eze appear to be on the back door. It really is a shame for me. I'm very happy for both of them because I think they're very clearly footballers, capable of playing in the Champions League, capable for competing for honors, capable of playing at the next level. And with all due respect to Crystal Palace, Spurs and Liverpool, they are a step above. Right? There's a footballing food chain. We all understand that. But I at the same time, it's a shame to see them go. Because oftentimes when we see a team win a trophy, or when we see a side kind of achieve something great at this level, you often think to yourself, oh, it's like that's the last dance. They finally got over the hump. I think West Ham, right, with Moyes and Rice, that was it. That was the accumulation of a great process that finally ended in glory. And then from there, it was always going to come crashing down. But with Palace, I honestly look at them at the moment. I look at their manager, I look at the squad, I look at what they look like they're on the verge of doing. I think Palace, if they were able to keep these 2 players, could really go on to do something special this season. And I know they won the cup, so it's like, what more could they do than win the FA Cup? But I think they could potentially make a real push for Europe through the league. I think they could potentially make a push for the Conference League in terms of winning it. They still might, but I think they would really be the favorites with those 2 still at the team. And I think they would kind of take the position of best of the rest. I think there's been a group that's kind of formed of the last few years. City, Arsenal, Liverpool are always there. Newcastle have been in amongst those positions the last 3 years. So have Villa. I think Chelsea deserve to be there. And I think United and Spurs have fell off a little bit, but let's say them in terms of big sides, right? In name. Outside of them, there was a year where Brighton were kind of like the dark horse of the rest. Forest, of course, last season. But I look at Palace this year, and I think to myself, they have an amazing coach. I'm a huge fan of Oliver Glasner. The way he has this side drilled is so impressive. Like, honestly, they know this system back to front. It's incredible. They have great players in certain positions. I mean, Mateta is turning into the best hold-up striker in the league at the moment. Adam Morton is an absolute gem in there, and I believe he's going to be a £100 million plus midfield signing for a big team next season. Munoz is one of the most impressive wing-backs, full-backs in the league, period. Henderson looks like he's finally kind of accomplishing that potential we all thought he could. Sarr looks like a player on the verge of exploding. It's a really good team. It is. And it's a shame that they're going to lose those 2 players because I think it will weaken them. But how much will it weaken them, right? As much as I love Eze, he's one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's a true maverick, and I think he's going to really improve Spurs. Is he irreplaceable for Palace? Or is he the kind of maverick that, yes, gives you those moments, but over a whole 90 minutes, maybe there's more important players per se, right? I think the latter could be potential. And I look at the links to El Khanous, for example, who was so good for Leicester last season. It's a huge jump going from Leicester, who are a relegation battler, to Crystal Palace, who have higher aspirations. But when I look at the flashes that he showed and the skill set he does possess, and I look at Crystal Palace's ability to kind of elevate those players from, okay, they play at smaller teams, to now they can make the rise up to the Premier League. Look at what Eze was before Palace. He was at QPR. Look at what Olise was before Palace. He was at Reading. They have kind of shown themselves. Wharton was at Blackburn. Now he's at Palace. Now he could make the next big move. They've shown that they can easily dip their toes into the lower markets and bring players that might not be on everyone's radar and really turn them into bona fide top players that are then ready to make another big step in a few years. And I think with El Khanous, I think he could be next up. Now, Guehi is a bit more difficult. He's the captain. He's the heart and soul of the team. He's an amazing player. Seriously, that's going to be a big loss for them. But is it an impossible replacement? I'm not so sure, guys. I think, again, with smart recruitment, Palace could potentially replace both of them. And I don't think they're going to be as good as they are at the moment, but I think they could still be competitive. I'm a huge fan of this team. They make life so difficult for the traditional Big Six. I know against Chelsea, they didn't create a million chances, even though arguably they were robbed of a goal. I mean, that's up for interpretation. I think that was a very harsh decision on them. But they've shown now against Liverpool, against City, against Chelsea, against Arsenal, this team can go to toe-to-toe with anybody in the league. They're a team to keep out for this season. And finally, the last thing I learned from this weekend, this Isak saga has to be solved, man. It has to come to a conclusion one way or another, because I'm looking at Newcastle and I'm looking at Liverpool and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm going to be a whole lot more confident predicting these guys' future once I figure out where this guy is going. I'm going to make a whole different video on Isak, right? Because I'm not a huge fan of his behavior at the moment. I think he's kind of made a mockery of the whole situation, if I'm being completely honest. But I looked at Newcastle this weekend against Villa. They deserve to win that game. I think they were the better team. And I think Newcastle have a really good side. I know all the noise about Newcastle right now is about how they've been turned down by so many players and Isak doesn't want to play for them. And on face value, they don't look like the most desirable team right now. They don't look the greatest. The optics don't suggest that. But when you actually watch them, they are still a damn good team. Their midfield, in my opinion, can stack up to anybody in the league, even more so now with the addition of Jacob Ramsey, who I think is a terrific player. They've added strength in defense with Malik Thiaw from AC Milan. Of course, the goalkeeper situation, Ramsdale has come in to provide competition for Pope. The situation, though, is up front. They have good wingers. They have depth in either wide position, whether it's Elanga, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Harvey Barnes, whether it's Murphy, of course, as well, too. Those guys, that's great wing depth. But in attack, Wilson's gone. Isak is on strike. They need something up front. And with Isak, or honestly, any half-decent center forward this weekend, they would have won that game. Elanga went through and missed a big chance. Gordon went through and missed a big chance. If Isak plays that game, they win. And that's the case for a lot of Newcastle games. They fight, they defend exceptionally well, they win the midfield battle, and then Isak finishes the chance off. But without Isak, they go from a great team to an okay team, if I'm being honest. I don't expect Newcastle to do much if they don't sell Isak and they don't bring anyone else in. They need to find a resolution here. Either he stays and he kind of puts his feet down, puts his head down, and just stays for another year, which I don't think is going to happen, or they replace him, they bring in a good striker who's not Isak's level, but can still keep this team competitive, and Newcastle will be competing for Champions League again. I know it's frustrating the way he's dealt with things, but this needs to come to an end. And then Liverpool, on the other hand, look really, really good, but also look really top-heavy, if I'm being honest as well, too. I think Arne Slot his biggest challenge is really going to be finding a balance in the midfield, because Gravenberch has missed the first few weeks of preseason, and now the first game of the season. He is integral to this team. If he's fit, he has to play every single week. And I think they probably need depth alongside him, because an injury to Gravenberch could really curtail Liverpool's season. But then in midfield as well, too, Wirtz has been introduced. And for what Wirtz gives you from a creative point of view, from a goal-scoring point of view, you take away by removing Szoboszlai from that front line, who is such a willing presser. He just runs himself into the ground and allows the attacking talents like the Salas and the Eketikes and the Wirtz to really be themselves. He was so big for Liverpool in that sense last year. They've added Ekitike now. They want to add Isak on top of that. I can only imagine what it looks like if Isak and Ekitike are playing together. That's going to be the most dangerous attack in the league, but how do you balance that out with the rest of the team? He's tried playing Kirkez as almost like a left-sided center back in a 3 at the moment. I'm not sure about that, but one thing I know is I'll be a whole lot more confident in predicting this team once Isak is confirmed or denied, right? We'll have a much better idea of what Liverpool look like, how they line up, what they kind of play like, once the situation gets figured. For everyone's sake, Isak needs to be figured out, and soon. But guys, these have been the 5 things I've learned from the first weekend of the Premier League. Let me know as well, too, what did I miss? I know there's some big stories as well, too. Forest winning 3-0 against Brentford. Arsenal, of course, too. They didn't look at their best this weekend, but I think Arsenal, I'm definitely going to wait a few more weeks to make a decision because they look terrible. I have to believe they are not that bad of a side. But those are the 5 big takeaways for me. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was down below. Did I miss anything as well too? Like, share, subscribe. So close to 80,000. That's the goal, and we want to get to 100K by the end of the year, and I can only do it with your help. With that being said, it's been your boy Lyes, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.